Hi everyone, and welcome to the first installment of a three-part series covering the HSGI Battle Belt. In this episode, we're going to quickly cover why I think a battle belt can be an effective piece of anyone's defensive setup. We're going to start that with essentially two visual stories. The first story was actually inspired by a comment I saw online from a gun trainer on a YouTube video, essentially dismissing the use of battle belts as fantasy. That's interesting. I definitely don't see that, although in my mind that actually comes off as somebody who is dismissive of other people. And I thought it'd be fun to explore maybe what these fantasy characters are that this person thinks you might be if you don a battle belt. And then we're going to follow that first story with what I think is a more realistic depiction of why you would want to think about using a battle belt for your defensive setup. So let's check those out, and then we'll come back with some concluding thoughts on how a battle belt fits into my primary application.
King 1, copy. I'm also coming in from Dumas. King 41 if you want to come in from North Creek Drive.
Male does not have a vehicle. He'll be on foot in the area.
King 1.
Honey, wake up. I think I heard something. Somebody's breaking in. Get in the closet. Call 911. Molly, check those last doors. They're coming in. Get ready. So what if you were facing a worst-case scenario? It's the middle of the night. Home invasion. Multiple threats. You only have seconds to react. Maybe. I don't want to have to think about anything in terms of getting ready. And that's one of the primary reasons I went with a battle belt in general, and particularly with a Cobra inner belt. So it's a one-click onboard. It's fast. One snap, and it's on. And everything that's on that belt is with you now. I'll say a couple of things about this. I have a setup in my home that follows a regime, if you will. I realize that it's very possible I might not get that extra second or two to go and put on a battle belt. And I'm prepared for that. My first reaction is I might not have a chance to get anything, any kind of firearm. And so I have to be prepared for that scenario. The next step is my pistol. It's right next to me. It's my first reaction. It gets me to the rest of my equipment, hopefully, but maybe not. So I'm prepared to defend in that scenario. Single pistol, single magazine. If I get to that pistol and magazine, then I take my next step, which is right next to my pistol is my battle belt. And I'm going to cover this in another video, and I know it'll probably sound a little funny to say this, but I have my tactical nightstand, and I have it set up in a way that this battle belt sits on a shelf with the inner belt buckles extended outward so that as I kneel down, which I'm going to do anyway as I make my way to my rifle, I'm able to wrap it around my body, click it on, and go. At that point, I have extra magazines for my pistol, and if that's all I got, that's all I had time for, I'm now in a better position to defend against multiple threats because I've got more magazines. I'm on my way to the rifle. It's only another foot away. I pull my rifle out if I have time, and I might not, but if I do, now I have extra magazines for my rifle and my pistol as a secondary or backup. I'm in pretty good shape now compared to 4 seconds ago where I had nothing. And again, that speed of deployment is why it's critical. And that leads into having a complete loadout. And it's not just ammo, although, by the way, I don't know anybody who's ever said, yeah, I'm okay with one magazine if necessary. Sure, you do it if you had to, but I think everybody would love to have infinite ammo resupply in a defensive encounter. Not that it's necessary, not that it will be used in completeness, but it would be nice. You have malfunctions. Is it easier to clear a malfunction or just drop the magazine and put in a new magazine? Again, some malfunctions would not allow you to do that, but it's not just ammo capacity for the sake of you need all those rounds. It's scenarios where you might just need to drop a magazine and or do a tactical reload. You don't have to think about it. And something I don't think any of us like to think about, but is in a gunfight, there's a good chance you might get injured or shot. So having medical equipment, right, tourniquets, a medical kit is important to be able to react and save yourself and maybe save others. So this idea that you've got this system where you can essentially bring along for free, not just magazines, not just your medical equipment, but maybe a phone, lights. It's there. You've got the space. It comes on with you in any case. So why not take it? So that's the ability to have a complete loadout that, again, is increasing your probability of surviving a scenario. Then the last point is comfort. This is for a slightly different use case. I just kind of walked through my primary use case was really home defense in a multiple threat scenario with limited time to react. But there's also training. And this was actually one of the reasons I went with this specific battle belt from HSGI was the slim profile and what seemed to be well-reviewed comfort. While that, again, isn't, obviously comfort's not critical for an encounter that's probably going to last a minute or two at most, it is something to consider from a training environment. In fact, it was a requirement for the training course that I took that I bring some type of belt system or system for safely managing multiple magazines. And then the last scenario is, if home invasion, multiple threats is, the 1 in a million likelihood, an order of magnitude of even less likelihood is without rule of law, or WROL. This is not something I think a lot about, but, it's nice to know that you have a piece of equipment that's rugged, that's comfortable, and if for some protracted period you needed to be able to carry a larger amount of ammunition or other supplies on you, this is a system that seemingly could do it. Now, obviously, this is moving into military, law enforcement, and there are many others that can better or more qualified to comment on the effectiveness of these systems, but they're clearly used in these scenarios quite a bit. So, it's not my primary. We'll call this not even secondary, maybe tertiary application, but again, just a little bit of peace of mind that you've got something that's extensible. So those are the primary reasons. Now, there are shortcomings and limits of this system, just like there are of any system. And, I'm going to talk about those points in the third part of the series where we go over performance and kind of how well it did in each of these applications and think about some things to consider. The other thought that I would leave you with is when I'm waking up in the middle of the night, I'm not wearing pants, which again is another point why a battle belt becomes your extra pockets in a second. You don't have a place to put extra things. I don't have a place to attach my holster if I'm wearing boxer shorts. So a battle belt system is more than a fantasy. It's a real world piece of equipment that can make a real difference. Like all things, it requires training. Of course, in the heat of a moment, when you have seconds potentially, if that, you're going to be panicked. You're going to be fumbling. If you don't train putting this system on, it's just like doing magazine reloads. You need to train with it because under stress, you're going to have issues. And if it's the first time you're really doing it in a real world scenario, it's probably not a great idea. So to all those that might say, oh, you're not going to have time to do it, you're not going to have the ability to react, I think that's untrue if you train. I definitely think it's true if you don't. And I hope this information has been helpful. I'd love for you to come back and check out part 2 and 3. Until then, this is Cavill 76.